Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hello, welcome. I'm
Hey.
DJ Ross. I am in Mountain View, California.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Alas and forsooth.
Alas. Uh-oh, where is this going?
I don't know.
Suddenly got very Shakespearean.
Right, exactly. Each week here on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week, that list includes The Good Life and Disco Elysium.
Ooh.
Elysium.
Elysium. I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm in the general vicinity of being correct on that, I think.
Yeah, close enough.
We have some pieces of show business, some show news.
All right.
Yeah. We're so good on this Extra Life thing. We are just killing it this year with the support of the community.
Still
going. We after a couple of late game donations here, we are currently at $2,825 as our team total. And that puts us just shy $35 or so from last year's high score. So if you're within the sound of my voice and would love to be the donor who pushes us over the top, you can go to VGHangover.com/extralife for a link to do so. Or perhaps a bunch of you, like 8 of you, could get together and donate, $4 each or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be fine. We'll take it. It all goes to a great charity, and we get a thing we can brag about and be proud of. And you do too, for that matter. So yeah, do that, please.
Yeah, $35. That's like a year's worth of Twitter Blue, and you don't need that. So why not send it to children's hospitals instead?
Is Twitter Blue a thing? What is that?
Oh, that's their little premium service.
I've never heard of that.
I think it just rolled out in the last week or so, at least to
sounds
the common
horrible.
folk. It is pretty horrible. Just
does it let you edit tweets?
There's like an undo button, I think.
Ugh.
Yeah, so $3 a month, if that's worth it to you, go for it.
It is not. Those are the people who were just subscribing to like anything at that point. Discord Nitro.
Discord Nitro. No, I mean, yeah, think of all the savings from canceling your Discord Nitro because they're getting into the NFT business. Just put it into children's hospitals instead.
There you go. Yep. My most popular tweet ever, my most liked tweet and retweeted tweet that I have ever tweeted has a typo in it,
Nice.
A grammatical error.
Nice.
As a badge of my shame, I've just let it stand. Just let it be there on the internet for all to see.
Well, just imagine if you had Twitter Blue back whenever that happened.
Sure. We do a little revisionist history. Just go back and change shit. But yeah, Extra Life 2021, a much better decision for things you should spend your money on. So that address again, VGHangover.com/extralife. You can donate through 12/31, through December 31st if you'd like to. So please hit it up and maybe consider kicking in a couple of pesos, a couple of shekels. Yeah.
What's the conversion rate on shekels to US dollars?
I don't know. Some rupees, some real,
Rupees, yeah.
whatever you got handy. Credits. We'll take credits. That's where the sci-fi money is. Credits.
When are we moving over to credits? I'm looking forward to
that. Show business item number 2, DJ.
Oh, this is a good one. This is the one we want.
Yeah, our annual holiday Drunktacular is coming.
I mean, not to take anything away from the sick kids, but
sure. Right. They can't hog all the glory. We get a little bit of it. Everybody's just talking about sick kids all the time. We want a little attention on us.
Let us be a little selfish
right.
for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, in the spirit of Christmas, we'd like to be a little selfish and talk about our holiday Drunktacular. This is a show where DJ and I take your calls, your questions, your comments, your little conversation starters. We drink some adult beverages on a live stream and sort of merge all those things together into something that is hopefully entertaining to people who are watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. This year, that is coming up on Friday, December 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
So on a Friday this year. Watch out.
Yeah. Little scheduling change there from previous years. So plan us into your week. Plan us as a fun little way of sort of wrapping up your week.
That's the prime slot, though. That's like the X-Files slot before they killed it.
Before they moved it to Sundays, and Mulder was only on every couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so yeah, Friday, December 10th.
On this year. What's he doing?
He's, I don't know. Can't be that busy.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I keep interrupting. Where were we? We're
Friday, December 10th, 9 p.m. live stream at twitch.tv/VGHangover. We can't do any of this without your help. We can't do very little, in fact. So we need your calls, your emails, your questions, your tweets, all of those things. You can call us and leave us a voicemail at 682-999-VGH1. What else? You can email us. You can go to Twitter. You can join our Discord. There's links for all of that at VGHangover.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, whatever's on your mind, send us a question, and we will be contractually obligated to answer it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's like 99% of cases. We'll answer whatever. Nothing incriminating.
Yeah, we reject very few questions.
Yeah.
You could do a little voice memo. I just learned about this. I was listening to some XM radio thing in the car, and they were like, hey, if you want to introduce a song on our Thanksgiving show, make a voice memo on your phone and email that file to us. And I was like, that's a thing we don't do.
Okay.
So you could do that.
Yeah.
Make a voice memo on your phone and email it to us at contact@VGHangover.com.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
You know what you could do? Just make a voice memo on your phone and email it to us.
Or Randy at VGHangover.com or DJ at VGHangover.com. Your choice.
Ooh. A private voice memo.
Right. You want to slide it to DJ's DMs.
Oh, man. Well, now I'm excited and slightly nervous.
Yeah, seriously. Gonna open the floodgates.
Anyway, you will be hearing much more about this over the next few weeks because the date, believe it or not, is coming up soon. And we want to make sure we get everybody's questions in. So please don't forget.
Away. What else? That's it. Those are the two pieces of show business. Extra Life, Drunktacular, done.
That's it. We're done here. Shut it down.
Wait, video games. We got to talk about video games.
Oh, video games. Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, that's a tough week for that one. I got to tell you.
Yeah.
That is, you might not want to go down that road.
I don't know what happened with those things. Like I was watching... just no end to controversy around the series, apparently, which is probably what they want, but who knows?
Yeah. Just now for slightly different reasons than they're accustomed to.
But there was one of the versions went on sale a little too early, right? So somebody was just streaming it, and I was watching as they played the first hour of all three of those games, like GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. For people who have no idea what's going on, the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy remastered collection came out this week, or maybe a little bit earlier, depending on which platform. And I was just watching this guy play through them, and I thought, well, these look pretty good. This looks like Grand Theft Auto 3. I would probably play this again, and I got weirdly excited at the prospect of playing these 20-year-old Grand Theft Auto games. But then the official release rolled around, and apparently they're all just super broken and terrible. So who knows what's going on? Oh, and you can't buy them anymore anyway because they shut down the storefront on PC at least.
Oh, I had not heard that little nugget of news. I heard that they were ugly, and there were tons and tons of screenshots comparing sort of what they look like running on your old PC and what they look like running on the Switch now. They're just, barely recognizable. Plus, there's a ton of music missing. All of the good songs. Many of the good songs.
Not all of the good songs. But
all of them. Every single one of them, DJ.
I double-checked. Quiet Riot is still in there.
Oh, well.
But, I guess with the PC version, they just included way too many files that should have not made it into the final master. So, a bunch of weird programmer notes. And, the hot coffee thing in San Andreas was in there again, which is just dude... It's you knew to leave this one thing out, the one thing that got you guys in trouble the last time, and it somehow still made it into this version. So they just pull the plug on it. Amazing, disaster. Amazing. What a tragedy!
Yeah, it's great.
Though,
I love it.
Yeah,
I enjoy it, but it's it's a disaster.
yeah. I mean, I was kind of thinking maybe I'd play these again, but
Yeah,
no, I'm not so sure.
I think I'm done with GTA games.
Really? But those PS2 ones are so good.
Yeah, I've played them though.
You played them?
I played all of them.
Yeah.
Yep, they're fine.
Yeah, but what if you I don't know, you ever get the hankering to just spend 20 minutes wheeling around Liberty City circa 2001?
Yeah, I have memories of that. I could sort of lean back in my chair and close my eyes and reminisce.
Oh, just conjure up the old memories of GTA. Sure.
Just neon pink soaked version of Vice City as I drive down the coastal highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too bad
It's fine.
because I feel like these games should be accessible to people who maybe haven't played them, or maybe who are they're going purely on their memory is not enough for them. I think they deserve a worthwhile remaster or update, or just a straight up port if that's all they want to do.
Yeah.
But this seems like it is a total disaster, so it's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, how does a publisher the size of this publisher put out something so broken?
I think they outsourced it to some studio that I read somewhere that they have done other disastrous ports for them in the past, which is just
fantastic.
I don't know why you keep using these guys.
Right. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well,
All right.
Anyway, too bad.
Yeah. So I don't know how we ended up on that topic, but yeah.
We're obligated to talk about some popular video game before we get to the ones that we played this week.
Oh, right. The unpopular video games that you and I have been playing. I follow.
So how about that?
Now we could put that in our little word cloud and maybe get a few extra clicks.
Yeah. VGHangover episode 520, Grand Theft Auto all the time.
Yeah. All about the clicks. So other games. What else did we play? What did you play?
I actually, this is a game I started during Extra Life. Played some of SWERY 65's The Good Life. And man, this is a weird game.
I mean, it is a SWERY 65 game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like to some extent it goes without saying, but man, this is so weird.
Yeah. It's sort of uncharacteristically strange even for him.
Well, so I don't know, because I never really got that far into Deadly Premonition. I kind of gave up on that one fairly quickly because that was just a little too many rough edges on that one for me.
It is hard to enjoy. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
I played what was the other one? JJ Macfield, The Missing.
Yeah, The Missing.
And that one, I mean, it wasn't super weird. I mean, it had some sort of goofy ideas, and it's got it's a strange sense of humor was in there, but more or less a fairly straightforward sort of puzzle platformer.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, man, it is just I've been playing it for so long at this point. I've been playing it for 5 or 6 hours, and there is just so much going on. I'm just still learning how the game works at this point. I feel like I'm not sure if the game has even properly started yet. I don't remember if there was a title screen. I do remember a point it said prologue. So I was like, okay, here comes the prologue. This is fine. And then at some point it threw up a similar title card, and it was just prologue part 2. So I was like, oh, the plot thickens.
Perhaps you don't know what prologue means.
Well, I mean, still technically the prologue. I don't know where they draw the line, whether we're going to get an actual title screen at some point or what. Or if it's ever going to say chapter 1. Maybe the entire game is just prologue chapter after prologue chapter. Who knows?
Yeah. But you get to the 17th hour, and it says, please come back later and play part 1.
Right. They're all everything's just setting up for the sequel.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed the prologue. We'll see you in 6 years.
Oh, man. But anyway, just to give you some ideas, give you some background about this game. It is, so in the game, you play as this journalist from New York who has been sent to investigate this tiny little town in rural England, Rainy Woods, because there's some mysterious secret that everybody in this town is hiding, apparently. And the secret is that at night, I don't think this is a spoiler because this is in all the press for the game. It's like the basic premise of what's going on. But at night, all the townspeople turn into animals, like dogs and cats. So she's there to get to the bottom of that. And also at the same time, she has just accrued just an unimaginable amount of debt. I'm not sure why. I don't know if this was like explained at some point and I missed it. I should throw up a disclaimer that I started this during Extra Life, and it was kind of late in the marathon, so I feel like I may have not been fully sort of like present for parts of it, which is too bad because it's like the critical early parts of the game. But I feel like I've mostly caught up at this point. But I feel like there may have been some detail like why she is just in so much debt that that have sort of slipped through the cracks.
I watched you stream the beginning of this, and I don't remember any sort of exposition on why or how she ended up in debt.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it's not there. Like you, I think I was probably sort of in and out and probably eating dinner or something at the same time. Yeah. So and also playing a video game of my own, but I don't remember the game specifying how that happened to her.
It's also interesting to me because her debt it's like 3 million. It's like some absurd number. It's like 3 million pounds, but it's like in British pounds. She's from New York. So I was like, did you work up all this debt like on your way from the airport, or did they just convert it all for you? I'm not really sure what's going on. But basically you have this weird mystery about the town where everybody turns into animals. And then this, I don't know if it's the main plot at this point, but basically you just have to repay all this debt that you owe. To the point where I've seen it described as a debt repayment RPG. Which is like, oh, okay, so I guess that makes it sound pretty central.
Sure.
But basically what it boils down to is it's sort of like this weird life sim game that takes place in rural England, which is a tiny little town. And like you get up every day, you go into the town center, there's like restaurants or cafes and all these townspeople milling around, and you just sort of do like RPG fetch quests for them, some ostensibly in order to get you closer to investigating this mystery, and some are just activities that are aimed to like make you some extra cash so you can start working up towards your like 300 million pounds of debt. I should get the number right, but it is like if you had this much debt in real life, you would just like instantly die. Like, there's no way you could ever repay this without being some sort of like, I don't know, some mogul. So it seems a little absurd that she is just stuck in this little town and expected to wring hundreds and thousands of pounds out of the townspeople over the next, I don't know, however long she plans to be there. Generally, that's what you do in this game. You just go around doing these little sort of quests for people. And so far, it's been just a lot of, like I said, RPG-style fetch quests, which feels like it would be grating after a while. But the game is just so weird, and I feel like every 5 minutes I'm just discovering something else you can do in the game. And just trying to add that, just trying to like stay on top of all the stuff that I already know you can do in the game, that I almost don't notice that everything is a fetch quest. So, for instance, you start out like you're a journalist, right? So you have your camera, and one of the things you can do is take pictures of people or just objects or points of interest around the town that line up with like keywords on this fake Instagram site that runs off your that you can access on your computer, and then based on the content of the photos you take, you earn likes and somehow money based on that. So there's like this photo mini game that's pervasive throughout the entire thing. You can just do all these weird little like gathering quests. It feels like there are 4 or 5 different crafting systems where like you just find materials around the town, and you can use those materials. You can either turn them into like the restaurant, or no, you don't turn them into the restaurant. You go to the restaurant and order meals, and then if you order a meal enough times, you like unlock it as a cooking recipe that you can then recreate at home using ingredients you find. You can find materials and take them to the clothing store, and they will like design clothing for you. There's like a blacksmith for some reason. There's a lot happening. There's like a little witch hut, and she makes potions.
And all of these little things you're making a little bit of money every time and hopefully reducing your debt. Is that
well? No, some of these things.
Where this is going?
Some of these things you're spending money. Like I needed to have a dress made, and she was like, "Okay, bring me the materials and everything." So I did, which was like several other layers of fetch quests. Like one of the parts she needed was gold nuggets or for some component of the dress. So I went over for the blacksmith, and I was like, "Hey, you have any gold nuggets?" And he was like, "No, but there's a cave outside of town. You can go mine some." So I was like, "Okay, so we're mining now." And then he sells me a pickaxe. So like, okay, so this is just every single video game tossed into this one little simulator thing. So anyway, so I mine up the gold nuggets. And like, just a bunch of other diamonds and other precious stones while I'm in this cave. I was just like, do I even need to be here anymore? Is this like 3 million pounds at this point? I don't know how much gold is worth.
Yeah.
Then I take it back to the dress shop, and I said, okay, here's all the stuff. I had to go to a cave and mine ore with a pickaxe to get this. So please make me my dress now. And she said, okay, great. Also, that'll be 180 pounds for the commission fee. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have any money. So it's kind of just a weird balance between paying off your debt, which doesn't feel especially urgent, to be honest, but then like getting in all these interactions with the townspeople so you can, I don't know, build up your cooking repertoire or whatever.
So there's no like mafioso types who are coming to break your legs if you don't make the money, right? It's just sort of you're kind of going at it at a leisurely pace.
Yeah, well, there was this like suspiciously large guy who showed up and was like, "Hey, we know you've got this debt, so make sure you pay it off before you leave this town because we're watching you." And it like was weirdly non-threatening, considering like how you would normally expect that sort of interaction to go.
Right.
But still, it just sort of underscores how insane it is that they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, you're stuck here until you pay us like 3 million pounds. Like just, which you will, wring out of the little witch in the woods somehow. Or just make off of your Instagram account.
And are you also simultaneously trying to sort of uncover the mystery of why people turn to cats and dogs overnight?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to do, but like getting the dress was part of that. It's all just this weird, like crazy chain of things you have to do in order to get the next lead, so to speak.
Got it.
Plus there's like, you have to sort of take care of yourself at the same time. There's all these different like stats. It's almost like a survival game at times where you have to eat food so you're not hungry, because if you get hungry, you start to get tired and you lose your stamina. Then you can get sick and like get a cold and you have to go to the hospital. There's all this stuff going on in this game. So this,
wow.
Like the first few hours of this, I was just like, oh, so now we have to think about this, and now we have to think about this other thing to manage. And it feels like just getting dumped into an MMO almost, in terms of the amount of stuff that you need to keep track of. So it's a little overwhelming, but it does feel like as soon as you get a handle on everything that, first of all, is possible to do, and sort of like the things that you really have to keep track of, like, remember to eat food and go back to your house and go to bed regularly, that it could just turn into like a fun sort of like, like a life sim RPG. You just, every day you wake up in this little town and you go and take care of a couple side quests for the day. Mm-hmm. Maybe you make a little progress towards your big journalism mission, or maybe you like squirrel away a few extra pounds towards your debt. But it doesn't feel especially urgent. It just feels like you could sort of have a good time hanging out in this town, or at least that's what I'm hoping it turns into. Because there's like a like time passes. There's a weekly calendar, and everybody in the town sort of has their own daily schedules, which is actually pretty interesting. But it's not like, or at least it hasn't come straight out and said like, oh, you have 100 days to pay off this debt. It just seems like you're here until that happens, or until you solve the mystery of this town, or I don't know. Not sure what exactly the end goal is at this point. I'm still getting oriented.
Yeah. Sounds unusual.
So yes, it's very unusual. Aside from just like how much stuff is going on, just how many gameplay systems they seem to have crammed into this thing. It feels very it feels very incomplete, but like not really. Incomplete is the wrong word for it. It just feels like maybe unpolished, but again, like not in a bad way. It just, compared to other games, like if somebody were to make this game with like a AAA budget, like if Rockstar was going to make this game, that's actually not a terrible comparison, actually, because it's kind of like an open world game. Mm-hmm. But like, one of the characteristics of Rockstar games is that you have this huge open world, and it's just like so immaculately realized. Like everybody has got their own schedule and their little routines and everything. You can, walk up to any object, well, maybe not literally any object, but there's just so many different systems to interact with in all of those games, and everything is just polished to a mirror sheen, right? But then there's the good life, which is like, hey, we wanted to make a game kind of like that, but we don't have the budget, so we're just going to do our best. And sometimes it feels like they've taken sort of like shortcuts, but not in a way, like they do it in a way which is ends up being kind of charming and just like weird in a sweary kind of way.
Sure. That seems very on brand, yeah.
Yeah, so like just not as fully realized as a Rockstar open world game. Like my favorite example of this so far is you get into a lot of conversation in this game where you're just talking to an NPC, and your character will end up just like explaining, why she needs the dress or whatever. And it'll start off with a little bit of like written dialogue, but then it'll just say like blah, blah, blah in the text box. And I'm just like, what? This happens so often, which I think is like amazing because like on one hand, they didn't have to write out this huge long backstory, but it also feels like SWERY is saying, hey, so we want to have this conversation here, but it's not that important. So blah, blah, blah. We'll just go to the next scene, which is hysterical.
Well, at least it's not. There's not like some nugget of wisdom that you have to divine from this conversation. That if they blah 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 at the end of it, you're not hanging on our every word, hoping there's a passcode for a secret safe someplace or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's weirdly efficient in a way because you just get to the point and then you don't need to know the rest. So let's just skip it.
It's just brave storytelling. That's what that is.
Yeah, so brave. Oh man. What else is going on in this game? Oh, so this feels like it's not even worth mentioning at this point, but you can also turn into a dog or cat. And then that gives you special powers. And this is also hilarious to me because I think the game started out as a Kickstarter thing.
Yeah.
And I believe at the early stages of it, it was like the game or the RPG where you go to a mysterious town and everybody turns into cats at night. And it was like only cats at that point. And then fairly early on in the Kickstarter phase, they took a poll and they're like, oh, do you like cats or dogs? And there was this, it seemed like, look, maybe it won't be cats anymore. Maybe everybody will turn into dogs. But then at some point, it just turned into like, oh, it's going to be about both cats and dogs. So now I'm wondering what the deal was. Like if they had this design in mind for a game where it was really important you turn into a cat, and they had all these segments sort of cooked up about like playing as a cat, and then at a certain point they just added dogs into the mix as well. It was very weird.
So we can polish all the dialogue and finish all the blah 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 sentences, or we can add dogs to the game.
Like, add dogs to it,
but not both.
So weird.
Huh. Yeah. Because I feel like all the marketing, like, if a stranger on the street came up to me and said, hey, tell me everything you've learned about the good life based on, Twitter and maybe it coming up on a podcast or seeing a trailer for it somewhere. My entire sort of synopsis would be, it's kind of a village thing where you have like a life sim, but at night everybody turns into cats and dogs.
Right.
Like that is my entire sort of association with that game, and my understanding of what happens in that game is limited to that. And what you're describing is 98% of you doing the errand and life sim stuff and trying to make money and get out of debt, and very little of what you're talking about is cats and dogs.
Yeah, it's played a surprisingly small part in the game up to this point. Like, other than the fact that you yourself turn into a dog or cat. Like, usually at night I just go home and go to bed. I think on the first night I was in the town square because I was just like, okay, well this is when it happens, right? Let's
do
happen?
It, guys.
and yeah, some people turn into cats, and she was like, oh, that's weird. And then it was the next day, and it just like hasn't been a central focus other than the fact that she's trying to figure out why this happens. But she hasn't gone up to anyone and been like, so you were a cat. And why is that?
So you'd think that'd be journalism 101.
Yeah.
That would be the first question.
No, she just kind of like minds her own business and, orders some food at the pub or whatever.
It spends money when she should be saving it.
Yeah, well, you got to eat or else you got to go to the hospital.
We don't want that.
Ugh. But anyway, so I don't know. It's just been such a weird time just trying to figure out what exactly is going on. Like, it took me a while to figure out, it's just, I'm going to be spending a lot of my time just working off this debt, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, fine. We'll go do some quests. It'll be great. It'll be like Animal Crossing. You can, there's gardening in this game, by the way. That's just another thing you can do.
Naturally.
Yeah. So, I mean, on numerous occasions, it has sort of felt like this weird alternate universe Animal Crossing where you're just doing chores and, like, going to bed after you used up all your energy.
And then at night you turn into one of the animals from your village.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that anytime. You don't have to wait till it's night or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can sort of do it on demand.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, sometimes you have to. Like, if you're a cat and you need to hunt an animal or something, you can use your cat hunting skills. Or dogs can memorize scents of like the villagers or different items, which is interesting. That was another thing I don't know if it even explained to me, but I realized you can go like into your inventory and highlight an item, and it'll be like in Breath of the Wild kind of, where you just need more of an item, so you like program the little detector to find it for you. Except in this, you just like memorize the scent and then turn into a dog, and you can track down more of that item wherever it is.
Yeah.
Which I was like,
clever.
Well, that's cool. And it didn't really explain that to me. But there's just so much going on in this game. Well, maybe it did. I just didn't notice because I was trying to learn one of 100 other things.
Right. So I guess the big question is, are you enjoying this? Because I can't tell.
Oh, yeah. No, this is great. I mean, it's just like on some level, I think I'm actually into the game. Once I have sort of fully visualized how this game is supposed to work, I feel like I will be into it. But even if it completely falls apart a few hours from now, just the journey up to this point has been so bizarre that it is definitely worthwhile.
Okay. All right, good.
I like that it is so different from this guy's other games, like Deadly Premonition and The Missing. Were so like kind of dark and creepy. But this one is just like, all right, it's about hanging out in just this cute little English town. I feel like he really has a thing for this type of landscape for whatever reason. And I can't think of a whole lot of games that are just set in a place like this. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, it doesn't look like his other games. There is a, kind of a brightness and a cuteness to the presentation that is certainly lacking from,
Yeah.
Dark Dreams Don't Die and Deadly Premonition.
Yeah,
I mean, just by title
about that
alone, yeah, those are pretty heavy.
There's a quest early on where it was like a morticious premonition. I'm just like, come on. But really good. Really
Gotta bury some SWERY Easter eggs in there.
Yeah. One thing I think is especially hilarious, and maybe the most blatant place where his like personality shows up in this game, is that the main character, I can't remember her name at this point, Naomi, is just so abrasive to everybody else in the town. Like, she clearly doesn't want to be here. She frequently refers to the town as a goddamn hellhole, like very often, and she is just so ready to get out of there. But what's hysterical is that, like, there are no they didn't fully voice the dialogue, but they do the thing where like a character will have a voice line that kind of corresponds to whatever they're saying. So, other games will do this. Instead of having fully voiced lines, they'll just be like, aha, or, something that sort of just gets the emotion across.
The tone, sure.
Yeah. But all of Naomi's lines are just like so fed up with whatever the character is saying. So one of them was just be like, seriously, like whatever the dialogue is, and then one of them is just, damn you. And it's like you can't just drop that. So just be having a conversation and just be swearing at these characters who are just mild mannered, like rural country folk, and here's this like big city woman just coming in and swearing up a storm. But just, another thing, just another weird touch that makes this game so unusual.
Very strange. I'm sort of super intrigued by this, and that's generally sort of where my kind of arc goes with SWERY games, where I'm sort of like, well, that looks interesting. Mm-hmm. He's quite a character. There's not a lot of these sort of like single person visionaries in gaming. You know what I mean? Gaming tends to be a very kind of collaborative art form in a lot of ways. So to have somebody who is this sort of personality driven in what they produce is rare, I think, and it's cool that we have these little auteurs, for better or for worse, in video gaming, and I'm intrigued by what he makes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I always pay a little attention when he's got a game coming out, but this definitely seems both sort of simultaneously kind of right up his alley and so different from what he's done in the past that, I don't know, I find myself kind of drawn towards it. I don't know if I would enjoy it. What you're describing to me does not necessarily sound like a ton of fun for me, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would work with a lot of people. It's basically... and this is one reason why I love it. It feels like some bargain bin, like PlayStation 2 game, where it's just like the one game on the shelf where you're just like, I've never heard of this. What is this game about? Oh, you turn into dogs and cats? Sure. Like, I've got $20. Let's try it out.
It's only $20. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
But it's amazing because like you so rarely see a game like this anymore, and I think like because it's not a big AAA title, they can get away with just being super weird all the time and just trying to cram as many like disparate ideas as possible into this one game.
Right.
So cool. I mean that in the best way possible.
I appreciate that.
Because I love the weird PS2 games. And it seems like they're still alive and well as long as SWERY is making video games.
I looked up SWERY's like Wikipedia little Google profile, and he is exactly 1 year to the day older than me. We have the same birthday.
What?
1 year apart. That's kind of fun.
That's amazing. You should send them a card.
But apparently, his little nickname is SWERY65. There is also a developer, Suda51.
Oh yeah.
And
not the same guy.
Not the same person. No, two very different people who have made different video games. But when SWERY goes to like signings, like if he goes to a video game convention and stuff, people will bring him copies of Suda 51 games
I've seen this
to sign. Yep. And he still signs them. Yeah. That's the fun part, is that like he'll write, "This is not my game," and then autograph it for people.
It's really good.
So like his Twitter feed occasionally is pictures of him signing, copies of No More Heroes. And he'll write, "I didn't make this, SWERY65." And I'm like, he's kind of a fun guy. I dig that.
Yeah.
I would be that person, I think, if I was a video game developer. That'd be good. So yeah. again, quite a character. We need characters in video gaming, I think. I stand behind that.
Yeah, no, constant bright spot in an industry which is, not always it's known for just being super endearing. So I'm glad he's around.
Yeah, definitely. We need people like him. Well, cool. Well, that's fun.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, it feels like The Good Life is just a nice place to hang out for however long it goes on.
Does it have sort of a structure similar to an Animal Crossing thing, where like at the end you can go look at my cool house, look at my cool farm? Are you like customizing and building things in a way that it feels like you're creating something unique, something that's specific to your experience with this game?
I don't know if I really build up the house at all. I've also been pretty frugal with the farm at this point because I'm just trying to figure out. I imagine at some point I'll have some better grasp on like how to get a cash flow going, so I can like plant more stuff at the farm and do more of the crafting stuff. But at this point, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna just grow some potatoes and then I can make baked potatoes so I don't starve to death, and then we'll figure out what else is going on in this game. I don't know if I'm gonna end up just like doing an entire town makeover. That doesn't seem like where it's going, but who knows? Maybe that shows up an hour from now.
I mean, you're going to get scurvy is what you're going to get. You need to get a little vitamin C in there. You can't live on potatoes, DJ.
There's I don't know. There's got to be some vitamin C somewhere. The cafe and bar menus have been like just completely fascinating. So I'm sure there's something buried in there to stave that off.
Just need a glass of orange juice every now and then.
Yeah. That seems so
86
mundane.
pounds
I
for
may
a
have
glass
just,
of orange.
Yeah, I know. Some of the stuff on the menu is surprisingly expensive.
Cool.
Anyway, what have you been up to?
I've been playing Disco Elysium. This is this is a fairly unique prospect as well. This is it's an RPG, but it's not like a turn-based, battle-based RPG. It's not. It's kind of interesting. I'm playing this the same week that I'm reading tons of reviews of Shin Megami Tensei 5, which is sort of a pretty traditional JRPG, turn-based battle system, leveling up your characters, building a little sort of coterie of demons, as it were, in the Shin Megami Tensei games, and fighting against something.
I get that Mothman.
Yeah. Or any of the other weird little demon things that come out of this series.
Mostly Mothman.
Disco Elysium is you are a cop, a character who wakes up in the sort of the early moments of this game with zero memory. You are drunk and naked on the floor of a hotel room, and you get up and it through wandering around and interacting with the room around you, you get a feel for sort of how some of the controls work and how some of the dialogue works. But most of what happens early in the game is inner dialogue, is you talking to yourself, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Why don't I remember anything? Where am I? And then you also hear other voices. You hear like a mysterious translator. You hear other kind of things, people talking and stuff like that. And your character in game is not fazed by this, just sort of accepts that there are all these sort of voices in his head. And I, as a gamer, am left to wonder, is this a crazy person? Is it Legion, where he's got all these sort of like, personalities vying for control or anything like that? It's, you make your way a little further into the game and you get out of your hotel room, you get your clothes on, you get out of your hotel room, you talk to the people in the rooms nearby. There's a cafe on the first floor, et cetera, et cetera. And it turns out you're a cop, you're a police officer. You've come to this hotel to solve a mystery. And have spent the last couple of days just drinking yourself into a stupor. And as a result, you have no memory of anything. You don't remember what the mystery is. You don't know who you are. You get dialogue choices, and more often than not, some of those choices are, I have no idea what's going on. I don't remember any of those details about the case. Who's that person again? You're quite often frequently just super confused by everything going on around you.
Yeah. Typical amnesiac JRPG protagonist.
Correct. Which is, I was going to say, it's a pretty sort of standard construct for an RPG.
That's interesting, though, because usually, this one, it sounds like it's used to good effect, where it kind of lets you, as the player, learn about what's going on. Whereas in JRPGs, it's just an annoying, I don't know who I am.
Or it's sort of used as an excuse for a silent protagonist, right? In those games where it's just sort of somebody who's kind of quiet and kind of withdrawn and sort of slowly sort of building up some semblance of who they used to be or something. Or you're building up to some surprising revelation that he is, he or she, it's usually he, is, this important thing to the plot or whatever,
right.
The chosen one, or something goofy like that. Not so much the case, at least thus far, in Disco Elysium. The unique thing that, one of the many unique things that seems to be happening here is that all of these voices that are in your head are actually your skill tree. So rather than you having a screen where you've got, you're going to put skill points into different aspects of your personality or into your abilities to sort of help you get your memory back or to be a better detective or a better cop to help sort of solve the mystery at play here, all of those skills are voiced, are fully realized, elaborately scripted characters who talk to you throughout the course of your proceedings in this game. So you have a partner, you have people that you're interrogating, you have other people sort of in the outside world, but you have your entire inner monologue that is going on at different times throughout the course of the game. And as you sort of get to different kind of skill checks where you're trying to sort of negotiate with somebody, or if it's a test of strength and you're trying to punch somebody, your fortitude will step up and will talk to you about sort of how to best get through a fight. You have something called the esprit de corps, which is your knowledge of sort of police work and things like that. And you'll get a little check that's sort of you can roll to see if you can be successful getting through here. And there's an on-screen depiction of a couple of dice rolling. And sometimes it's a red check, and if you fail it, there's pretty miserable consequences and you never get to try it again. But if it's a white check, you can do it again, but you have to invest in that skill set a little bit more. And that skill, that aspect of your personality will talk to you, will narrate to you, will give you little hints, little suggestions on how to move forward and how to find more information. And you'll go back out and you'll do a little more police work, or you'll, go shopping at the store for something you need, or talk to your partner a little bit, et cetera, or, ask passersby on the streets, for help. And it will always trigger some little aspect of your personality, some little piece of your memory, something that just chats your ear off inside your head, and only you can hear it. Nobody else can. Everybody else thinks you're nuts or drunk or an idiot. But you really just have this very robust inner monologue happening all the time.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah. It's not limited to just your skills and your personality, because your tie also talks to you as well.
Oh, well, sure. Hard-boiled detective and all that.
Right. Who has a very sort of 1970s kind of disco aesthetic. And he has the very ugly tie with, at least it says at some point, 4 different patterns happening simultaneously on it. And it talks to you in a very loud voice, because it's a loud tie. Get it?
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you have to put skill points into your tie?
I have not found ways to upgrade the tie yet. I just, nor do I sort of see value in wasting very precious points on that. I try to put them into other things that have more relevance to where I'm at in the story. But I don't know if at some point you get to upgrade the tie. I think it's just, is the tie a skill, or is it just another voice in your head?
I don't know.
Yeah, to be determined. I'm not there yet. Yeah. But it's unique. Clearly, what I'm describing to you is pretty unusual for a video game. It has sort of the structure and some of the traits of more traditional role-playing games, but it does very, very unique things with them. And it is just insanely dialogue heavy. So your ability to sort of enjoy this craziness hinges a lot on whether or not you're willing to endure just pages and pages and pages and pages of dialogue, all of which is voice acted. So you can just sort of thumb through it as you're, waiting for your next opportunity to go through a couple of different dialogue choices and role play your character a little further, and et cetera, et cetera. But most of the time is you listening to your skills or the people that you're interviewing or your partner, Kim, talking to you. So it's very, very dialogue heavy. There's no battles in the sense that there are sort of in, Final Fantasy or Shin Megami Tensei or Persona. It's not turn-based in that regard. You do, like I said, you have physical altercations. Sometimes you can try to fight a bouncer to get into a club to ask questions there. But you will do a skill check before you try to get into that nightclub to see whether or not you can overpower the guard. Or maybe you're not trying to sort of overpower. Maybe you're just trying to sort of talk his ear off so he finally lets you in, or trying to be sort of persuasive or something. And you try and, again, deploy whatever skill set is most useful for that situation. But it's not done like a JRPG battle or anything like that. You wouldn't mistake it for Persona.
Right.
Yeah. It's more like a pen and paper kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, sort of like, I don't know, roll for persuasion. And yeah, you roll a couple of dice and sometimes it comes up snake eyes and you have to deal with the consequences of that. Or sometimes you get kind of an indecisive and you have to come back later and try again.
So does this all take place in one like neighborhood? Or are you just in the same like couple blocks for the entire game?
So far, I can't speak to the entire game thus far, but at least initially, like I said, you wake up in the hotel, you make your way down to the cafe on the first floor, and you start to sort of slowly explore the neighborhood outside. There is a surprisingly sort of robust bit of world building happening here, and that if you talk to people, if you read the newspaper and stuff like that in game, you get little hints about like you're a citizen in a failed government state, and the government has really kind of collapsed and left the people to itself. And it sort of has vibes of being kind of a French city almost, and all of the street names and stuff like that are in kind of French sounding dialect. But the decor is sort of like Eastern European, and all the vehicles look like kind of steampunk cars and stuff like that. And there's no real like technology that I've encountered thus far. Like nobody's on cell phones or PDAs or anything like that. But you dress like you're out of the 70s. So it's this bizarro kind of amalgam of a lot of different sort of aesthetics. It works, though. It's pretty interesting. And it, again, a lot of it is sort of you feeling kind of unusual or uneasy or like not quite sure what to expect. And I think obviously sort of this weird combination of all of these sort of aesthetics and elements of different times and stuff like that sort of help feed that unease a little bit, because you don't ever really know what to expect. You don't ever know sort of what technology you have available to you or what other people will have. As you explore further and further, you find that there's a labor dispute happening in the city, and that there's dock workers who are being replaced by scabs, and you have to pick a side on whether or not you want to get involved with the laborers or with the replacement workers. And so again, there's a whole like political alignment thing that happens. There's a stripe of racism happening in the city. Your partner is of Asian descent, and people will say horrible shit to him sometimes, and you get the choice as a character to decide to be, an ally or a good person or a complete disaster. And that's sort of the pitch of the game in a lot of ways, is you sort of building this character.
I heard a lot of people choose to play this as just like the most reprehensible sort of human being possible, which is not, I think that's interesting. You necessarily get to do in every game.
Yeah. Some of the dialogue choices seem just vile, and I don't know, like, just do I want to commit to spending 20 hours with role-playing a character like that? That seems unpleasant.
Oh, no, I don't think I could do it. That's like, second playthrough minimum.
Right. Yeah. I suspect the game would go in some pretty interesting directions from that point forward, but I'm trying really pretty diligently to be a decent human being. And a good ally to my partner, and a friend to the downtrodden. I have encountered numerous opportunities to be gross, and have not selected any of them thus far. So, I might save that for a future.
That's tough.
Playthrough.
Like even when I was deliberately doing like, I did like a very like goody two shoes playthrough of Mass Effect my first time through it. But then I was like, oh, okay, now I'm doing the evil path. And I think there were still some decisions where I'm just like, oh no, that's too evil, can't do it. Even though that was sort of the entire point, was just to go 100% the other direction.
Yeah.
But that was like just like cartoon space villainy. It's not like in this one, it's just like, well, turns out I'm super racist. Like that's very uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It is surprising that it sort of goes into some of those depths, and again, cool. I mean, clearly the developers of Disco Elysium have sort of assembled an experience that is very unlike a lot of other video games. I can't think of anybody who has sort of gone to this extent with a sort of unique structure for a video game, or has chosen to sort of personify in some way the skills that you develop over the course of a game. All of that feels super unique. Even the art style, it's very sort of like painterly and kind of watercolor paintings and stuff like that. It's all done in kind of an isometric, so you'll walk around sometimes and explore the city and climb up flights of stairs and go into buildings and things like that, but it's all done with this sort of like tilt shift kind of perspective. It's just, again, a lot of really kind of unusual and sort of bold choices were made about how this game is structured and what the dialogue will be like and what your interaction with other characters will be like, and just so unique in so many ways that it feels a little overwhelming initially as you sort of make your way out. I paused at one point and I Googled, like, what are good starter tips for playing Disco Elysium? Because, it feels like a game where you can make some pretty consequential decisions pretty early on based on limited information and basically screw yourself.
Sure.
But as it stands, based on sort of what I've read, and I'm going to keep this spoiler free, of course, for anybody else who wants to explore this thing, it's really hard to break, which I give the developers a lot of credit for being able to sort of create a choice-based game where you're trying to make sort of choices based on fairly limited information sometimes. Again, you have a character who's a bit of a blank slate, but the developers have found unique ways to sort of get you back on track or get you back on a sort of an alternate path based on some of the choices you made, and none of them feel like kind of the good ending, the bad ending, et cetera, et cetera. Although I suspect if you play 100% racist all the way through, maybe you get an unfortunate outcome. That's just me spitballing.
Well, who knows?
Who knows? But a lot of what I read about sort of like, geez, how do I handle some of the bigger choices early on in Disco Elysium is just don't stress over it. Just go with the one that seems right to you, or pick sort of a through line or a character that you kind of want to role play and go with that. But you really will not sort of like paint yourself into a corner or make a bad choice or end up getting a disappointing ending or anything like that. The game is good at sort of self-correcting and keeping you on a path for the story it's trying to tell.
Do you know, without spoiling anything, like how much it diverges, like how many different endings you can get, or how different you can expect each playthrough to be?
I don't think I have a sense of that yet. I maybe I was afraid to dig too deep into things like that, but the 2 or 3 articles I read and a few tweets, more than anything, said don't. I worry about stuff like that when I'm playing like a Shin Megami Tensei, for example. I feel like early on in some of those games, you're asked to make some pretty, which character do you want to, what class do you want to be, and it doesn't like give you enough context to feel like you're making an informed decision, and that's always a point at which I like pause the game, look it up on some sort of wiki and explain what an optimum build would be for this character. And what I've read thus far about Disco Elysium is try to shake all that sort of baggage off. Don't worry too much about that stuff. That you will sort of weave your way into this story no matter which path you decide to go down. I don't know sort of how many options there are for you kind of arriving at the destination, but at least early on, the general advice seems to be don't stress over those things.
Yeah, it's really difficult for me to just get out of the mindset where it's like, oh yeah, I need to find the one like optimal decision for this. But when I'm able to do that, it's very exciting, especially when it's a game that it's a lot of conversation trees and everything. I forget which game specifically I'm thinking of, but it was something recently where like my normal impulse is to do it like Mass Effect style and just go through every single dialogue option. But when they give you a conversation and you can like only pick one response and you can't come back to the other ones, and I'm able to just like get over my anxiety about that, it's always ends up being a very memorable experience.
Yeah. Yeah, the red checks have been tough. Have been like, and I don't generally tell you too much about those things in advance. They fit into the context of the story. At least early on, you're sort of embroiled in this kind of murder mystery and trying to reestablish who you are and how you fit into this world. But I've had a couple of encounters where it'll do like the little, well, you have a 39% chance of success if you do this test. And I'm like, well, let's try it. Let's give it a shot. You roll the dice, doesn't come up in your favor. Screen turns red for a second. Then you get some sort of like negative consequence to that. And the red ones you can't try again. You can't go back and level up and take another roll at. So I'm like, did I break it? Did I screw myself?
Yeah, at that point I'd be like loading an old save file. Be like,
right, yeah. Which you can do. There are opportunities to do that. I'm playing on the Switch and there's multiple save files and you can quick save all the time and stuff like that if you want to be that kind of player. I'm trying to sort of go with the flow and let the story kind of roll out and not lose any sleep over those things, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, good for you.
Yeah, time is finite. I'm stating the obvious here. Like, the likelihood of me playing Disco Elysium a second time is probably pretty nil. You know what I mean? This is 20 to 25 hour game according to howlongtobeat.com. Just, I could play 3 more games in that time. I could probably play 5 more games in that time that I would take to play a second playthrough. So
you could do the evil playthrough.
Just go pitch black all the way through. Yeah. But yeah, it's unlikely that I will do that. I know my limits as a gamer, and I would much rather, move on from this to some cool new thing. Probably, presumably. Or just play more Slay the Spire, which has also sort of sucked me back in over the past week. But yeah, so I kind of want to, maximize my time invested in this thing, knowing that I probably won't get a second playthrough. But again, just trying to not stress over those things and just sort of let the chips fall where they may and try to make, semi-decent choices on my way through. But it's cool. I really sort of appreciate it. I admire it. I think it's made a lot of really sort of bold choices with how it's going to build its characters and how it's going to tell its story and what kind of game it even sort of looks like. All of those things feel very sort of fresh and unique. I'm intrigued to find out where this story is going. I'm intrigued to learn more about this character in the world. And those are not always sort of like driving forces for me in video games. I feel like a lot of, we play so many games, you know what I mean? That I feel like I see patterns develop. I feel like, okay, well, this feels like these games. This feels like this type of game. I can help sort of like sort of understand a video game by sort of where it fits into sort of the little categories in my brain. And a lot of what I've seen sort of in the first 5-6 hours of Disco Elysium feels so unlike other stuff. And it's, I don't know, it's a little jarring, but it's super gratifying, I think, to find something that is like, oh, wow, this is unlike anything I've done before.
Oh. I was going to say, it sounds like, I wonder if it's just like, an old PC RPG that I honestly don't even have a lot of experience with either. But,
yeah.
No, some of the stuff you're describing makes it sound like pretty unconventional.
Yeah, I mean, my association, if we could do the what is an RPG conversation probably sometime on the podcast, but my association for what that means is generally goes back to sort of experiences with Dragon Quest games and Persona and things like, you know what I mean? And I think that's a pretty narrow band of what an RPG can be.
Oh, no, I was thinking of stuff like, I don't know, Baldur's Gate or something. That might not even be the best example.
Okay. Zork, right? Is that a game? Zork?
If I put Zork, I don't know where that would land on the spectrum.
Okay. I'm just pulling random old
that's not the worst
games out of my brain.
The worst comparison. Because, it feels like it could be like just a very evolved version of a text adventure.
Yeah, that's kind of where my brain went. And I have no experience playing games like that. That's not within my sort of experience history at all. So
maybe you should play some Zork.
I'll put that on the backlog attack.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm having a good time with it. I'm really I've been quite drawn with it over the weekend. I kept coming back to it, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know you've been meaning to get around this for a while, so
yeah,
glad you're into it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it got awesome reviews when it came out on PC, and it seemed like there was a very long gap before it sort of made its way to consoles, and then those consoles weren't the Switch, which I prefer to play RPGs on because I can kind of take it with me and travel a lot for work, this, DJ, and find myself sitting in hotel rooms sometimes just sort of putting hours into these games. I need portable solutions to these bigger games, and so I was waiting for that Switch version, and it finally came out, so the time is right for me to jump on this thing.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like to play this at some point. It just seems like, man, when can I squeeze in another massive or potentially massive RPG? When I'm playing like 3 of them simultaneously. Yeah.
I'm glad this is not sort of massive in the the Persona sense of the word, but 25 hours is still a pretty big undertaking.
Yeah.
Cool. So that was Disco Elysium.
Nice.
We should wrap this thing up, right? I haven't even looked at the clock. How long are we?
6
hours? 8 hours? How long have we been doing this?
About 7 or 8 hours. Yeah, close.
All right, cool. Right in our sweet spot, then. That's just exactly what our listeners like.
Yeah. Everybody loves the the giant bomb style.
If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. You can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about the episode at VGHangover.com as well. We would love for you to join our Discord. You can hang out there with us and talk about video games and talk about video game music. Or if you're back on your Animal Crossing thing, we have an Animal Crossing channel where you can dive in and ask for help, ask for DIYs, ask for froggy chairs if you need them. We can help you out. You can get a link to the Discord at VGHangover.com as well. We would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else you can get a podcast, and help us out by telling your friends about the show, please.
Yeah, tell your friends to send in their burning questions for the Drunktacular by December, 10th? One of those days in December.
Sometime early in December.
Yeah. Here's a good thing to do. Just give your friends that phone number, 682-999-VGH1, and tell them to ask some weird question, and then we will have to answer it. Hopefully your friend is not an enormous racist.
Right. Yes. Yeah. We reserve the right to edit gross racist questions.
Yeah. Anyway, we want to give special thanks again to Hal Binderman this week for our intro and outro music. Please check out. God, I was trying to tie that in to the previous segment, and I was just really trying hard to avoid calling Hal Binderman
who's an enormous racist.
Huge racist.
Right?
Speaking of huge racist, how about this guy? Well, no, went and did it anyway. So apologies to Hal Binderman, who is probably not a huge racist. I don't know.
I'm checking his Twitter now. It seems to be okay.
Seemed fine when we did. We vet everybody on here. Please head on over to heavyviper.bandcamp.com. Please buy an album or two as just an apology for the segment on the show. And, all that stuff.
Yeah, and there's about a 98% chance we'll never be able to use his music again, so enjoy it while you can.
Oh, man.
We will, with apologies to Hal Binderman, we'll be back next week, probably, hopefully, unless we get sued or something. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks so much for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.